Hello, I am Professor Kim Soo-il at Daegu University. Rice is closely related to Asian people's diet and is a major agricultural product in Cambodia. I hope that studying rice-related research and packaging materials for commercialization in Korea can help Cambodia to advance the rice industry. The term grain means rice, barley, wheat, oats, rye, and other types of cereals and potatoes prescribed by presidential decree, and what is produced therefrom, such as ground grain, powdered grain, starch, and other equivalents which are prescribed by a presidential decree. After establishing the government of Korea in 1948, the system was converted to a partial control system allowing both the government and private distribution according to the Grain Purchase Act, the Food Emergency Measures Act, and the Grain Management Act. In 1950, the government established a special accounting for grain management and took over the work previously performed by the Federation of Financial Associations for intervention. During the Korean War, the government brought a huge amount of grains to fill the storage, causing a collapse in grain prices. As the Korea-U.S. Surplus Agricultural Commodity Agreement in 1956 stabilized the grain supply, the government abolished the grain sales system and rationing system, continued the rice lien program, and strived to secure the government grain through farmland tax payment in kind. The current Grain Management Act was enacted in August 1963 and amended 7 times until 1988. In 1963, the government carried out a campaign to encourage mixed meals to overcome food storages due to poor crops, expanded food import, implemented a double price system for barley, and promoted a high rice price policy. In 1970, as the U.S. food aid of surplus agricultural products was changed from grant to credit assistance, the government carried out a campaign to save rice through administrative orders like the designation of No Rice Day and mixed grain. In 1973, as a result of the first oil crisis and the rise of international raw material prices, the weaponization of food emerged as a new issue. In 1973, the government actively disseminated high-yielding Tongil rice while promoting the Green Revolution and supported grain self-sufficiency through the double price system for rice. From 1976 to 1978, the coverage of a new rice variety reached to 60 to 70%, and we temporarily realized rice self-sufficiency. The increased yield of Tongil rice widened a gap between the government purchase price and the market price, so the government had to purchase a larger amount of grains, suffering from a bigger deficit in grain management. Especially the financial difficulties associated with grain management became severe due to the issuance of grain securities and currency evaporation by borrowing from the Bank of Korea to finance purchases. The grain management system is operated in a dualized system for the private and public sectors. The current grain policy is based on the distribution of the private sector with a market mechanism. The public sector is in charge of military and government supply and only intervenes in the market upon the price fluctuation and releases the government rights to adjust the price. Looking at the grain distribution process, grains produced at farms are stored at the farms, and surplus except for seeds, feed, and self-consumption is commercialized through the sales process. Sales are divided into 2 types: direct sales as rough grains and sales after processing as milled grains. Dealers purchase the rough and milled grains in the production areas. These grains are released directly to consumption areas or first stored in warehouses and released to the consumption area as unpolished rice or milled grains after processing. Transported grains are stored first and sold to grain wholesalers or agricultural cooperative markets, then to retailers or agricultural cooperative stores, and then to end consumers. The government secures grains through the purchasing process and in a poor crop year imports grain from foreign countries. The secured grains are sold to consumers through storage, processing, and transportation stages. In other words, purchase, import, storage, processing, transportation, and sales are the main functions of the government's grain management system. According to the Grain Management Act amended in August 1988, the government shall establish the grain supply and demand plan every year and obtain the consent of National Assembly, stressing the importance of grain management. One thing to be cautious of when drying ice is that you can shorten the drying time if the amount of dry air is large, the drying temperature is high, and the humidity is low. However, excessive treatment may increase cracked rice and decrease the rice quality with a lot of broken ice after milling. High temperature drying causes coagulation of the rice protein and aging of the starch, which makes the rice less sticky and tasty. It also reduces the vitality and germination rate of rice seeds. To prevent rice cracking during the drying process, you need to lower the blowing temperature if the initial moisture content is high or if the absolute humidity in the air is low. When drying rice with a circulation dryer, the drying temperature should be less than 40 degrees or seeds at 45 to 50 degrees for food. You need to remember that it is better to dry them from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. when the outside temperature is high and humidity is low. Drying the daytime when the outdoor temperature is 10 to 15 degrees is more economical than drying at night when the temperature is 18 to 21 degrees because it can save fuel by 19%. Drying methods are divided into sun drying using solar heat and machine drying in which high temperature air is blown into the dryer. Since the moisture content of rice during harvest season is usually around 22 to 25%, you should dry the rice until the moisture content becomes 15%. If the moisture content is less than 14%, it is good for storage, but rice is less tasty. If it is higher than 70%, the milling efficiency improves and the rice tastes good, but it is easy to deteriorate during storage. Thus, controlling the moisture content is an important factor in drying rice. The rice with a moisture content of 20% or higher is prone to deterioration, so it should not be left unattended for a long time and should be dried within 8 hours. Especially when the moisture content is 26% or higher, when the outside temperature is high, it should be dried within 4 to 5 hours. The high temperature drying method does not harm the taste of rice with low moisture content, but it may severely harm the taste of rice with high moisture content, so you need to be careful when setting the drying temperature. To prevent the rice from cracking during the drying process, you can lower the moisture content gap between the surface and the inside of the rice or uses the tempering process to adjust the balance. To increase the storability of rice, you need to keep the moisture content below 15%, the temperature in the storage below 15 degrees, and humidity below 70% for stable rice quality. Under natural conditions, stored grains not only undergo physical and chemical changes, but also suffer damage from microorganisms, pests, and mice. This quantitative loss rate is usually about 4 to 5% on farms. The germination rate, which is an indicator of the vitality of rice, declines over time. If the storage period is more than 3 years, the vitality decreases, resulting in a significantly lowered germination rate. To store the rice for a long time while maintaining the quality upon harvest, you should keep the moisture content to be 15%, the storage temperature below 15 degrees, and the relative humidity to be 70% while maintaining the air with 5 to 7% of O2 and 3 to 5% of CO2. Let's look at the brown ice. If the moisture content is 20% or higher, the proper storage temperature should be below 10 degrees, and if it is 16% or less, it should be stored at about 15 degrees. If the rice is to be milled in about 3 months, the rice should be dried to about 16%, cooled sufficiently, and then stored. Rice to be stored for more than 3 months should be stored in a ventilated place to gradually lower the moisture content to 15%. When storing in the one-tone bag which has poor ventilation, you need to lower the moisture content to 15% at the beginning. Before sunrise, you should often check the inside of the empty roof and the walls whether there is condensed water or frost. The condensed water or frost is evidence of moisture movement. In this case, you need to remove moisture with the blower at the top of the warehouse and mix the rice inside to maintain the moisture content at a certain level. In case of pests and molds developed during storage, you can use epifume tablets and fumigant. When fumigating the entire warehouse, you should seal all doors, windows, and ventilation windows with thick paper or vinyl tape. When fumigating the warehouse partially, you should cover grains with vinyl or synthetic resin. After fumigation, open the window and exhaust the gas remaining in the warehouse for 4 to 5 hours. Then go into the warehouse and remove the remaining fumigant. According to the test result of the milling characteristics by the moisture content, it is best when the moisture content is about 16% considering the milled brown rice ratio and complete grain ratio. The rice processing complex of the National Institute of Crop Science under the Rural Development Administration conducted research to improve rice milling methods. When milling 5 times with the FRMM, the milled brown rice ratio went from 89.3% to 91.1%, and the complete grain ratio went from 81.9% to 85% compared to milling 2 to 3 times with the FRMM. When milling 4 times with ARMM and 2 times with FRMM, the milled brown rice ratio went from 91.1% to 91.7%, and the complete grain ratio went from 83.5% to 87.1% compared to milling 1 time with ARMM and 3 times with FRMM. There are 2 types of plastic woven bags for heavy packaging. One is a vinylin bag made of 100% vinylin, and the other is a PP or PE woven cloth bag made of PE or PP threads made by the medium-low pressure method. The PP bag manufacturing process can be divided into thread production, weaving process, bonding process, printing process, and sealing process. There may be a difference in a process depending on the product. To produce threads, you need to extrude films from the film extruder, slit the film with a sharp knife, and then stretch it in a longitudinal direction according to the denier and required strength. If it is made as plain weave by a loom, you should make a bag in an L-shaped combination, and if it is woven in a tube shape, you can just seal the bottom. For sealing, you can use either a sewing machine for paper bags or an industrial sewing machine. For high-strength bags, you need to use the sewing machine for paper bags. Although a sealing method varies depending on contents and working environment, you can seal bags with a sewing machine, strings, or mechanical methods like wire clips. One-ton bags are widely used for packaging grains, rough grains, vegetable fertilizers, military sandbags, salt, wool packs, synthetic resin materials, textile fabrics, seafood textiles. The strength of PP woven bags are as follows. A. It is light and easy to be handled and adjusted. B. It is very strong and takes a little space. C. It has excellent chemical resistance. D. It has great abrasion resistance. E. It can be printed with beautiful patterns. F. Mass production is possible regardless of the season. G. It has good workability of filling and sealing. H. It has great air permeability. J. You can freely adjust the strength. The weakness of PP woven bags are as follows. A. It has no moisture control function. B. It is slippery and difficult to be stacked on one another, so you need to use the anti-slip agent. C. Its price is high due to the complicated process. According to the Grain Consumption Survey in 2021, the average daily rice consumption per capita was 155.8 grams in the last grain year, showing a decrease of 1.4% from the previous year. Rice consumption per capita is on the decline every year, and it has decreased by half compared to consumption in 1991. Considering that a bowl of rice weighs about 100 grams, it means that one person eats about a bowl and a half a day. The average daily rice consumption per capita was around 300 grams in the 1970s, but it steadily declined to 280.6 grams in 1997 and 199.6 grams in 2010 and fell below 160 grams for the first time last year. This trend of a decrease in rice consumption was caused because the consumption of other foods such as noodles and bread was increased due to a westernized diet, and people prefer home meal replacement enabled by simplified online food delivery. Last year, the annual grain consumption per capita in the households was 65 kilograms, showing a decrease of 2% from the previous year. Also, the annual grain consumption per capita has continuously declined since 1981 and has been reduced to half the amount in 1991. Annual per capita consumption of grains other than rice was 8.2 kilograms, down 5.7% from the previous year. By grain, consumption of mixed grains, beans, and root and tuber crops decreased compared to the previous year, but consumption of barley increased. Factors that influence the taste of rice include moisture content, fatty acid, and germination rate. The moisture content of rice is a factor that not only affects the weight, but also decisively influences the quality such as taste, germination rate during storage, and fatty acid. The proper moisture content is known as 15% when stored at room temperature. The moisture content with the best taste is from 15.5% to 16.5%, and it is recommended to dry it to 16% or less for chilled grain storage. Rice contains about 1% lipids, which are mainly composed of neutral lipids such as oleic acid and linoleic acid. During the storage of grains, fat is easily hydrolyzed or oxidized to create a bitter taste or increase the acid. If grains are exposed to high temperature and air, or if the moisture content is high, they go rancid very quickly, resulting in deterioration of quality. The lipids contained in rice are easily hydrolyzed or oxidized during processing, resulting in off flavor or unpleasant taste, which deteriorates the quality of rice. To inhibit oxidation, you need to avoid contact with air. To extend the storage period of rice, a study measured the rancidity by analyzing peroxide and acid every 2 weeks for 14 weeks while storing vacuum-packed embryo-retaining rice and brown rice at room temperature. The unpacked brown rice and embryo-retaining rice did not show much difference in the peroxide values at 6 to 9 mg for the first 4 weeks. Brown rice went rancid faster than embryo-retaining rice after 6 weeks, and the taste started to change due to the generation of volatile substances. Because the vacuum-packed brown rice and embryo-retaining rice had different lipid content, their peroxide value showed a difference of about 0.3 mg at the beginning and showed almost no difference during the storage. In terms of the acid value, unpacked brown rice and embryo-retaining rice showed a difference of about 0.5 mg during the storage, but the vacuum-packed brown rice and embryo-retaining rice did not show much for weeks and showed a difference of 0.6 mg after 10 weeks. This study confirmed that the vacuum packing suppresses the rancidity and extends the storage period by 10 weeks compared to unpacked brown rice and embryo-retaining rice. Considering that it takes about 1 month for an urban family to consume 20 kg of rice and rice is fresh for 15 days in summer and 30 days in winter after milling, the most desirable packaging design to minimize changes in moisture content and minimize the inflow of oxygen to prevent rancidity. However, we also need to conduct a campaign to educate consumers who think that rice is a stored food to encourage small volume packaging. When considering the consumption period after purchase, packing units for rice should be 10 kilograms or less to maintain freshness. It is desirable to use materials with low gas permeability and water vapor permeability and to use vacuum packaging, gas filling packaging, and oxygen removal packaging methods to prevent contact with oxygen. Small volume packaging bags may be difficult to be displayed due to the air contained in the packaging. The current packaging methods with pinholes may be effective in improving the display, but it is difficult to block rice weevils and external contamination factors, and it may bring undesirable results when considering the factors that influence the taste. Therefore, we should not use the current method, but should use a tight seal method with packaging materials with a better sealing effect. In the case of 20 kilogram packages, the high moisture content may result in mold due to increased water activity if the temperature rises and packaging materials have low air permeability. Therefore, it is very important to keep the initial moisture content at 15 to 15.5%. If you look at the rice purchase cycle of retailers, about 55% purchase rice every week and 45% purchase the rice in a longer cycle. If the cycle is longer than 1 week, the taste may change because of the quality degradation during the distribution. The average rice storage period at retailers was about 10.1 days. Small supermarkets had the longest storage days with 12.2 days, followed by rice stores with 10.2 days, large retailers with 8.6 days, and internet shopping malls with 6.2 days. Important factors that influence consumers' purchase decisions include the origin, variety, brand, and milling date. The brand was shown less important because there are numerous brands and many of them lack differentiation and recognition because most brand names are identical to the names of production areas. The packaging design did not affect the purchase decision much with only 1%. There are various rice packaging units such as 40, 20, 15, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 kilogram, 800 gram and 500 gram, but 20 kilogram is most preferred by distributors. 40 kilogram units are packed in PP woven bags. 20 kilograms units are packed in paper bags or composite films, and small volume units are packed in composite films with four-sided sealing or T-type manual bags. A handle is often attached to 10 kilograms or 5 kilogram units for convenience in transport, and a zipper is often attached to small packages under 5 kilogram to make it easy to reseal and reopen. Particularly, glutinous rice is usually sold in small packages. For some items, a gusset type or a standing pouch is used. In terms of packaging units per outlet, bulk packaging is preferred by large-scale consumers like restaurants, and the 20 kilogram packaging unit accounted for 75% in large retailers, 55% in small supermarkets, and 90% in group meal services. The 10 kilogram packaging unit accounted for about 25% in small supermarkets and 15% in large retailers. The small volume units below 5 kg accounted for 21% in small supermarkets and 15% in internet shopping malls. Let's look at the issues in rice packaging. 1. The packaging units are large. 2. It is difficult to open. 3. It is difficult to reseal. 4. Transporting them is inconvenient after purchase. 5. When stored in a sink, the rice has to be placed in another container because packages cannot stand. 6. There is no functional packaging to extend the freshness. 7. Holes are punched in packaging bags for easy display and to prevent the bags from bursting during distribution. 8. The design is too complicated to recognize necessary information. 9. It is difficult to identify brands due to the lack of differentiated designs. There are about 1,800 rice brands, and consumers are confused when making a purchase decision because there are too many brands, little difference in the quality, and many brands lack uniformity of varieties. Looking at types of rice brands, some focus on the history, some focus on natural resources, some use local reputation, some focus on a specific technology, and some appeal to the emotion. To solve the issue, we need to focus on a few elite brands and foster power brands of uniformity of quality and stable supply to earn the trust of consumers. Also, we need to reinforce image management and publicity through brand management. Mandatory labeling requirements for packaging include the brand name, place of origin, variety type, production year, grade, producer, weight, and so on. Still, we need to use a simple design so that the brand name, place of origin, and variety can attract consumers' attention. For convenient transportation of consumers, we need to either make packaging units smaller or find a way to easily attach a handle on site. Also, it is recommended to design small volume packages to enable consumers to use them directly. We can use a container or a standing pouch with a zipper so that consumers don't need to place the rice in another container and easily reseal them. Rice packaging materials can be divided into paper bags and plastic bags. Paper bags are used for packaging of 20 kg and 10 kg, and plastic bags are used for small volume packaging of 5 kg or less. Plastic bags can be divided into two types of design: a high-quality design using paper and a design on vinyl. Most of the packaging materials are designed to enhance the high-quality aesthetic impression rather than the storability of rice. In Southeast Asia, rice packaging is designed to enhance the storability of rice through vacuum packaging or to reduce packaging costs. In Korea and Japan, the packaging material has been upgraded as a marketing method for differentiation without considering the storability of rice, which needs to be improved. Actually, Japan has a lot of small volume packages due to the small amount of rice consumption and does not need to worry about storability. Most of the rice packaging units in Japan are in small volumes under 5 kg, and some products are just for one-time use. Now let me show you some examples of plastic bag designs for small packaging under 5 kg in Korea. If you check slightly different packaging materials and differences in the manufacturing process, it will help you understanding. Rice packaging material design example 1. Contents can be identified through punched holes. Non-woven tapes are used for the degassing structure design. The design has a paper texture and looks high quality because of metallized film. Colorful design enhances the appetite. Rice packaging material design example 2. Contents can be identified through punched round holes. Non-woven tapes are used for the degassing structure design. The T-type bonding method is used. The paper textured design looks high quality. The adhesive non-woven tapes are used for packaging materials. Rice packaging material design example 3. Contents can be identified through punched round holes. Non-woven tapes are used for the degassing structure design. The T-type bonding method is used. The paper textured design looks high quality. The adhesive non-woven tapes are used for packaging materials. Rice packaging material design example 4. Contents can be identified through punched round holes. Non-woven tapes are used for the degassing structure design. The T-type bonding method is used. The paper textured design looks high quality. The adhesive non-woven tapes are used for packaging materials. Rice packaging material design example 5. Contents can be identified through punched round holes. Punched holes are used for the degassing structure design. Non-woven tapes are used for paper texture. The package is reclosable because of the attached zipper that enhances consumer convenience. Rice packaging material design example 6. Contents can be identified through punched round holes. Punched holes are used for the degassing structure design. Packaging is differentiated with a jar-like deformed pouch shape. The package is reclosable because of an attached zipper that enhances consumer convenience. Rice packaging material design example 7. Contents can be identified through punched round holes. Packaging is differentiated by using aluminum metallized film. The matte film is used on the surface for a high quality and differentiated design. Rice packaging material design example 8. Contents can be identified through punched round holes. Non-woven tapes are used for the degassing structure design. The T-type bonding method is used. The paper textured design looks high quality. The adhesive non-woven tapes are used for packaging materials. Rice packaging material design example 9. Contents can be identified through punched rectangle holes. 8 punched holes are used for the degassing structure design. The matte film is used for high quality design. The bottom is sealed partially with gusset adhesion for consumer convenience. M-seal is used with the edge seal and gusset partial adhesion. The top part is folded, sewed, and labeled for a differentiated design. Rice packaging material design example 10. Contents can be identified through punched rectangle holes. Non-woven tapes are used for the degassing structure design. A plastic handle is attached for easy transportation. The paper textured design looks high quality. Non-woven tapes and T-type adhesion are used for the degaussing structure design. Article 7 of the Enforcement Regulations of the Grain Management Act stipulates that the labeling requirements should be marked on the packing materials for consumers to obtain the necessary information for the sales of grains. The labeling requirements are divided into mandatory labeling and voluntary labeling. The requirements for rice and brown rice are stricter, whereas the requirements for general grains have a few exceptions. For packing units of 5 kg or more, the labeling shall be on the front of packaging materials, and for packing units of less than 5 kg, the labeling can be marked on the back of packaging materials. The mandatory labeling requirement shall be labeled at 16-point font size for units over 10 kg, 12-point for units under 10 kg, and 8-point for units under 1 kg according to the size of packaging material. The following is Annex 4, Article 7 of the Enforcement Regulations of the Grain Management Act. 1. Labeling requirements. A. Mandatory labeling requirements. 1. Product type. A. A product type of product name of grains shall be marked. B. If the rice or brown rice is mixed with other grains of grain processed products, a product type of name of all mixed items shall be marked. C. If rice or brown rice is mixed with other grains or grain processed products, a mixing ratio or weight of each shall be marked. Provided if there are more than 5 mixed items, the 5 items should be marked in the order of mixing ratio or weight. D. When several grains or grain-processed products are mixed, the tolerance for the difference between the indicated amount and the actual amount shall be less than 10%. 2. Year of production. A. The harvest year of raw grain shall be marked. B. Deleted. June 30, 2009. 3. Weight. Actual weight shall be marked. 4. Variety type. A. The name of the variety type should be marked, the allowable range of which mixing with other varieties with the variety name may be determined and noticed by the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. B. When the variety type is unclear, the product should be marked as mixed. C. When several varieties are mixed, the mixing ratio for each variety should be marked or the product should be marked as mixed. 5. Milling date. A. The year, month, and date of milling the rice plant to brown rice, or the year, month, and date of milling the rice plant to brown rice or rice shall be marked. B. If rice and brown rice with different milling dates are mixed, the earliest milling date shall be marked. 6. Address, business name, and phone number of the producer, possessor, or seller. In the case of foreign products, the address, business name or name, and phone number of the importer or seller. 7. Grade. Only for non-glutinous rice, including black rice and scented rice. A. The corresponding grade shall be marked with a circle. The classification of grade is determined and announced by the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. B. Deleted. October 13, 2016. C. Rice that is sold as a raw material to processing companies may be labeled as for processing instead of a grade. D. Imported rice can be labeled with an internationally accepted grade. B. Voluntary labeling requirements. The protein content may be labeled for rice. The classification of content is determined and announced by the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. 2. Labeling method. A. If sold after packing. 1. Position. A. Label should be positioned in a recognizable position on the front of packages according to D. Example of collective labeling of packaged grains. provided the address, business name, and phone number of the producer, processor, or seller may be marked separately on the back of packages. B. For packaging units under 5 kg, all or part of the labeling requirements can be marked on the back if they cannot be marked on the front. C. The product type and variable milling date may be separately marked on the side with the collective labeling. D. Example of collective labeling of packaged grains. 2. Font size. A. Mandatory labeling requirements. Packaging units of 10 kg and over shall be marked with 16-point font or larger, and packaging units under 10 kg shall be marked with 12-point or larger, provided packaging units of 1 kg or less can be marked with an 8-point font or larger. B. Voluntary labeling requirements. There is no determined font size. 3. Chromaticity. The font shall be marked in a color that is distinct from the background color or packaging materials. 4. Text shall be printed directly on the packaging material in principle, but it can be marked with a sticker, rubber stamp. B. In case of selling without packaging, product type, weight, producer, address, business name, or phone number may be omitted. 1. Labeling method. Marked on the surface of containers, signposts, etc. 2. Marked on containers. 10 centimeters wide, 5 centimeters long or larger. 3. Marked on signposts. 10 centimeters wide, 5 centimeters long, 5 centimeters high or larger. C. Labeling language. 1. Should be labeled in Korean or Arabic numerals. 2. English or Chinese labeling should be in a bracket following the Korean label. This is the first product in Korea that used aseptic packaging technology. When the rice comes into contact with oxygen, its freshness drops sharply and the rice deteriorates due to microorganisms in the air. Thus, this product is vacuum packed using packaging materials sterilized in a clean room. The number of dust in the air is about 2 million ft2, but the number of dust in the clean room is less than 100, showing near perfect cleanliness. Furthermore, it uses high temperature and high pressure steam sterilization to block microorganisms and uses a special storage container and a lid with a multi-layer structure to maintain the taste, flavor, and nutrition for a long time without refrigeration or preservatives. This is the aseptic packaging technology. In other words, the aseptic packaging technology is used to remove preservatives. The lid material is NY-EVOH-PP. The container material is PP, EVOH, PP, and transparent EVOH in the middle acts as a barrier to oxygen permeation. The following is a video clip on how to make hetbahn. Hetbahn making process. Preparing containers. Removing foreign substances. Preparing the rice. Placing. Pressurization, sterilization. Adding water. Cooking. Sealing. Steaming. Cooling. Sorting. Packing. With the recent rice consumption promotion policy and consumers' preference for well-being food, a lot of foods that have rice, rich in vitamins, as the main ingredient and add natural ingredients like nuts, beans, mugwort, pumpkin, and acorns are gaining popularity. In particular, rice cake is attracting attention as a breakfast substitute for busy office workers and as a nutritious snack for children. As rice cakes, cafes with modern taste and sophisticated interiors emerge, rice cake is effectively targeting young people. However, the problems with rice cakes are that they have a short shelf life and that they harden over time after making. To prolong the freshness of rice cakes, thorough hygiene management in the production process and packaging techniques suitable for extending the freshness of products must be applied. Still, packaging methods are not contributing to extending the shelf life. Most deterioration is caused by contamination in the manufacturing process and a lack of temperature control in the distribution process. Because the rice cake is made of starch, its taste deteriorates due to the aging of the starch when distributed at low temperatures. If you distribute the rice cake at room temperature to prevent this, the shelf life is shortened. To extend the shelf life of rice cakes, you can put an oxygen absorbent in a bag and remove oxygen inside the package to prevent mold and aerobic microorganisms from growing. Another method utilizes the sterilizing power of ethyl alcohol. First, you let a kit absorb 70% of ethyl alcohol and you put the kit with the product in the package. Then the ethyl alcohol evaporates during the distribution process while preventing mold growth. A demerit of this method is that consumers often mistake the smell of alcohol for a smell of spoiled food. A new and improved distribution method is frozen rice cake. The frozen rice cakes are distributed in a frozen state and thawed right before eating. However, you have to note that frozen rice cakes must be packaged in small quantities and packing material should be of excellent cold resistance and be easy to open. For automatic packaging, it is recommended to use NY-LDPE as a packaging material. So far, we've studied cases of grain packaging design for commercialization. I hope the way to improve the storability of rice and the packaging method to extend the freshness of rice would help the Cambodian rice industry to increase the value added. Thank you for listening.